the more and more I do this, the more I realize we don't just tell the stories through photo, we actually impact the story in the moment and then tell that story through photo. That's a freebie. You got that one for free. This was a video about gear, and then I got deep, so run with it. What's up, guys? Today we're talking about camera gear, and I know what you might be thinking. You're like, Sam, why are you wearing lederhosen? And the answer is, it's a camera strap. So guys, today we're talking about camera gear. If you're into that sort of thing, if you are a photographer, a filmmaker, and you like camera gear, I would absolutely appreciate your support and would love to have you hit that subscribe button and join the fam. Now, getting into the gear discussion. Today we're talking about gear as it pertains to photography. Video gear will be a totally separate video, but the gear discussion can very much be an exhausting conversation if you are super emotionally invested in your brand loyalty. So the way I view gear is I'm interested in talking about it insofar as figuring out how it inspires your creativity. I view gear kind of the way I view clothing choice or the vehicle that somebody drives. It's very much a stylistic thing. Sometimes it's about utility. Does it do the job that you need it to do versus, you know, some other brand, some other style? But really that's all I'm interested in, is what kind of creativity gets inspired in you because of the gear that you use. Because I think it's important to be inspired by the gear that we use every single day. I mean, I'm a professional photographer, and there's a reason that I don't shoot a ton of photos on my iPhone, is because I just don't feel creatively inspired to take photos on my iPhone. Yes, I will take photos with my iPhone if there's a moment that I just absolutely don't want to miss, something I want to remember, but I'm not taking it for artistic reasons. I'm taking it for documentation. And when we're professionals, we get hired to document, but we get hired to document artistically. So we need to be inspired by the gear that we use. So that's why I'm interested in the gear conversation. So without further ado, here is some of the gear that I use on the day-to-day as a professional photographer on my shoots. First up is camera bodies. I shoot with the Canon EOSr, two of them to be exact. These are my two main bodies. They look a little different because this one has a vertical battery grip on it that has vertical controls and the whole thing, and I have the logos taped up, so it's kind of full stealth mode, and this one is just kind of bare bones how you get an EOSr. But these are the same camera. I shoot with two of them. I love these cameras. I switched to them pretty early after they came out. I was an early adopter for sure, and I switched to them from a Canon 5D Mark III and a Canon 6D Mark II, which are both, even still now, phenomenal cameras. You can still do incredible things with them. They will always have a place in my heart because I got my career started with those cameras. But for me, the switch to the EOSr, the quality jump you get in both photo and video, it was just a no-brainer coming from the cameras that I was coming from. Why two cameras? I'm assuming some of you are asking that. If not, I'm gonna pretend like you did, because we all know I need help talking more in these videos. I shoot with two bodies for several different reasons. One is that I shoot entirely with prime lenses. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what that means, it means that all my lenses are a fixed focal length. This, for example, is an 85mm lens. This is not like a 24-70 where you have a range of focal lengths that you can access on one lens. All my lenses are just one fixed focal length. So that's the first reason, is that I shoot with prime lenses. So what shooting with two camera bodies allows me to do is I have two camera bodies at any given point with different focal lengths on it. I'll usually have a wide-ish angle lens on one and a standard to telephoto lens on the other. And then the second reason that I shoot with two camera bodies is to have a backup. At the end of the day, cameras are electronics, and though they're pretty reliable, they don't trip up very often, but they definitely do. And I've definitely had camera bodies in the middle of a moment that I should be capturing freeze up. As professionals, we absolutely cannot be missing shots because our camera gear is glitching out on us. So what two camera bodies allows me to do is, if one is having problems, I can quickly grab the other one and still capture the moment. It might not be the ideal focal length, or it might not be necessarily the exact shot that I would want for that moment, but you can still get the shot, which is the most important thing. Another reason is with these EOSRs, they only have one card slot on them, which is not ideal, but it's just the way it is. They only have one card slot. So worst case scenario, if I was to lose the card out of one camera, say the card corrupted and all the files were lost, unrecoverable, not able to get them back, at least I would have another camera with coverage from the day. Now, I have never had a card fail, and I attribute that to the way that I manage my cards and my memory for professional shoots. Now, chances are I'll probably make this video anyways, because it's actually a pretty hot topic amongst wedding photographers, and particularly amongst people that shoot with this EOSR, is the single card slot being a problem. I feel like I've come up with a really solid process to ensure the most security you possibly can with only having one card slot. So let me know if you'd be interested in seeing that video in the comment section down below. And while you're at it, I would super appreciate if you gave this video a thumbs up, and maybe even subscribed if you're enjoying the content so far. And if you're really enjoying the content, maybe hit that bell so you get notified when new videos go live. It really does, I know people say this all the time, but it really does help out small creators like myself making content on the platform. It really helps us out, and it helps YouTube know that we're doing a good job as small creators. So definitely help me out if you're enjoying the content so far. Moving on. Getting into my camera settings themselves. I'm not gonna go super in depth with this, but I am gonna just quick fire go through the settings, how I usually have my camera set up on a typical wedding day shoot. This is gonna be fast, so if you have any questions or want to have a discussion about camera settings, drop a comment. I would love to have a conversation with you. Let's learn together on that front. But ready, set, go. I shoot raw everything, never JPEG, not even as a backup. I'm full manual all the time. I'm using autofocus almost all the time. I bounce back and forth between single point servo and servo face tracking with eye detect. If the lighting situation is particularly difficult, I will switch over to manual mode and manually focus, but that's maybe 2% of the time throughout the day that this camera can't hit focus with the autofocus. I am shooting in the low speed continuous drive mode that limits these particular cameras to 5 frames a second, which is plenty for shooting weddings, plenty for shooting portraits. You really don't need to be blazing off 10 to 12 frames a second for weddings or portraits. Nobody wants to call through that many photos when it gets time to edit. And the low speed continuous also gives your autofocus a better hit rate, because your autofocus system has a little bit more time in between each photo to find the focus that it needs. So those are my quick fire settings. Again, if you have any thoughts, questions, anything like that, drop a comment down below. I could obviously go way more in depth about that, but not in this video. Now let's talk about lenses. Now, like I said before, I shoot all prime lenses all the time. The only zoom lens that I own is the lens that's filming me right now. It's the Sigma 18-35 f1.8 art lens. That lens lives pretty much on my cinema camera. For video, I never use it for photo. So for photo, it's only prime lenses all the time. Now, the reason I shoot with prime lenses is, honestly, I just wasn't feeling inspired by the zoom lenses that I was using. I used to shoot on the Canon EF 16-35 f2.8L version 2, or was it 3? 2 or 3. I shot on a 16-35 and a 24-70, both Canon L series lenses, 2.8s, and shooting with them just felt clinical. It did not feel inspired. It did not feel artistic. So I made the decision to go to primes only. I felt that I needed some limitation to really inspire that creativity and get me thinking differently about how I was shooting. And it's honestly probably the best decision I've ever made for my creativity, and my photography was just elevated tenfold when I switched to only primes. That's not to say that you should switch to primes only. Everybody's different. Everybody has their preferences. But for me, switching to primes was a great decision, and I've been super happy since doing it. So I shoot primarily on 3 or 4 prime lenses. The first one, this is my widest lens. This is the Sigma 20mm f1.4 art lens. Now, I like Sigma lenses when they work, but they're not wildly consistent. If I needed to replace this lens, I would buy another one, and it would be hit or miss on whether or not it performed as well as this one does. But I got lucky with this one. It works great. The build quality is awesome. The autofocus works great. You would never know that it wasn't a Canon L series lens. If you don't know what L series lenses are, L series lenses are just Canon's professional line of lenses. You would never know that this isn't a Canon L series lens based on its performance. One of the only things that you might be able to tell is different is the price tag, because these are significantly cheaper than Canon lenses. I've come to really love this 20mm focal length. I didn't used to like shooting on really wide angle stuff that much, but I've come to really like this lens. It's a very specific application, but whenever you use it right, it's beautiful and it looks great. Moving on is my Canon 35mm f1.4L version 2. I hate how long these names are. I absolutely love this lens. It does a lot, and it does it really, really well. If you can only have one lens in your bag, this is a good one to have because it's just incredibly versatile. It's a super versatile focal length. You can stop it down to 1.4 and get really beautiful portraits with it, but then you can also take it a step or two back and get that nice wide angle look. In fact, if I'm shooting just for personal reasons, or I'm just going out and I want to take some images and I'm only grabbing one camera, this is usually the lens that I will put on. It's just a gorgeous lens. It's really beautiful. My next lens is this Canon EF 85mm f1.4L IS. This is really my workhorse lens, particularly for portraits. This lens is freaky sharp. Like I have to add texture and grain in post-processing because of how sharp this lens is. It's one of those lenses that you use and it feels like cheating because it can just make just about anything look incredible. It's a really gorgeous lens. I absolutely love it. It's huge. Like, look at the size of that front element. It's a big old chunk of glass, but it's an incredible lens. This lives on one of my cameras throughout the day. Now, the other lenses that I feel like my kit is missing at this point is one, a tilt shift lens. I actually just sold my 90mm tilt shift Canon lens. I love tilt shift. I love getting creative with tilt shift, but the 90mm was just a really weird focal length to be using, or at least for how I like to use tilt shift. 90mm just was kind of weird. So I don't have a tilt shift lens. But I will be getting another one at some point, and when I do, it'll just probably be a more standard focal length. And speaking of standard focal lengths, the only other lens that I feel like my kit is kind of missing is the Canon 50mm f1.2L. Now, I rent this lens a ton. Probably 80% of my professional shoots, I rent this lens to use. But the reason I haven't purchased it yet is because all my lenses at this point are EF lenses, and there's a reason for that. Is that the RF lenses, which is the new lens lineup that Canon announced when they announced their full frame mirrorless with these EOSRs, the RF lens lineup, though they are optically superior in just about every way, there are some trade-offs when it comes to using the lenses for video, which I'm not going to get into right now, but what I will say is that as a hybrid photographer and video shooter, that's just something I have to be conscious of. So I haven't really made up my mind whether or not I would prefer the EF or the RF mount 50mm 1.2L that Canon offers. They're both great lenses. The RF mount is no doubt a better lens, just purely in terms of photo still image quality. But again, I haven't quite made up my mind if the trade-offs are worth it for me. So until I make up my mind, I'll just keep renting that lens. It's a lens like I said, I rent all the time. I use it on a ton of my professional shoots. So those are really the lenses I would say are missing out of my kit. Otherwise, I feel like I've got pretty complete coverage And then if I really needed more reach, if I was shooting in like a big venue or something like that, that I really felt like I needed some reach, I'd rent like a 70 to 200 or something like that. Moving on to extras that I use throughout a shoot day, the supporting roles, if you will, supporting literally is this Hold Fast Moneymaker. This is the Hold Fast Moneymaker Skinny. It's the camera strap that I was wearing at the beginning of the video. This is a dual camera strap. It goes over you like suspenders. So you wear it like suspenders, and then both on the right and the left, there are two leashes that will attach cameras to your body. So I'm really excited to use this strap. I actually just got it. I've never used it on a professional shoot. I just got it from my friend Eric. He is an ambassador for Hold Fast gear. I promise I'm not just name dropping him to flex. I've just been spending a lot of time with him lately. But he got me this strap, and so I'm really excited to put it into the rotation with the rest of my gear. I love the guys at Hold Fast. I love what they do. They just do leather craft and dual camera straps like nobody else in the business. So I'm really excited to have a piece of their gear and to put it to work in my kit. So I can't wait to get this strap onto an actual shoot and see how it performs. I'm really excited for it. Next up is my Ona Bowery leather bag. This is a great little bag. It's not huge. This is not like a camera bag that you put all your stuff in and lug it to and from gigs with. I have a different bag. I probably should have included that bag in this video, but this is a bag that I just carry along to wear during the wedding day. It's not that big. You can fit a camera, and I've actually fit my body without the battery grip, and then my 85 and my 35 all in this bag. So you can fit a camera and a couple lenses in here, but how I use this on a wedding day is it just goes over my shoulder, cross body, and I keep things in there like extra batteries, a card wallet with extra cards in there. It's a really great little bag. It looks phenomenal. It matches the Hold Fast Moneymaker really well with the leather. It feels super nice. And it's just got my vibe, so I'm a big fan. Great quality bags, check them out for sure. Speaking of cards, this is my SD card wallet. I shoot with pro grade digital SD cards. I've just found them to be incredibly reliable, incredibly durable, and super fast in terms of transfer speeds. I used to shoot with SanDisk cards. I recently switched to shooting with pro grade digital cards, and I haven't been happier. They're just phenomenal. I use the UHS 2 V90 cards if you care. It's just kind of like the highest tier, fastest SD cards that you can get. But pro grade digital makes great stuff. I've been super pleased using their cards. And again, if you want to see how I manage cards, what I do to mitigate risk in terms of shooting with cameras that only have one card slot, definitely let me know in the comment section, and I will make that video for sure. Next up is this. It's the JBL Clip 3. Not necessarily a piece of camera gear, but it is something that on the practical side totally changes the way that I shoot photos. This is a Bluetooth speaker, and if you're a photographer and you have trouble kind of eliciting the emotion that you want out of your couples during a portrait shoot or whatever it may be, this is a game changer. I just throw on some romantic jams off of my phone, and it really just helps set the mood and get the couple eased into a place where they feel natural and they feel comfortable. This goes a long way in helping set that mood. So great pickup. They're not that expensive, and it can just totally transform the experience that your couple has while taking the photos, and ultimately, because of that, give you better photos. And then last, but certainly not least, I don't have it with me because it's back in Pennsylvania and we are quarantined in Wisconsin, is my Polaroid 1-Step-2, which is just a normal Polaroid camera. And you might not expect a professional photographer to use a Polaroid, but how I use it is really more about client experience than anything. So what I do is during portrait sessions, first look, or whatever it may be, I'll take some Polaroids of the couple. Usually they don't even know that I'm doing it. I don't let them know beforehand that I have a Polaroid camera and that I'm gonna be taking some Polaroids of them. But what I'll do is I'll take those Polaroids throughout the morning, throughout the afternoon, and then when it comes to maybe dinner time at the reception, I'll just drop them at their table or something like that. And they'll see them, and they're just always so in love with them and so excited. And it's just one of those things that really drives home the point that you're more than just a photographer. You're really there to elevate their experience and give them a great experience on their wedding day, and that you don't just care about their wedding, but you care about them as people. And at the end of the day, that's what it's really all about. We've got to take care of our clients. I mean, these are people that are entrusting us with the most important day of their lives, with their most important memories, and they want to remember it in a certain way, and they're giving us the responsibility of helping them do that. So that's what it really comes down to, guys, is giving your clients the experiences that they deserve. I actually have it written on the back of my camera. It says, give them the stories that they deserve. And when I put that on there, I was referring to the images. Like, give them the images. Like, tell the stories the way that they deserve to be told in the images. But the more and more I do this, the more I realize we don't just tell the stories through photo. We actually impact the story in the moment and then tell that story through photo. So never forget that. That's a freebie. You got that one for free. This was a video about gear, and then I got deep, so run with it. But yeah, that's it, guys. I know that was a lot. That was a brain dump of information. If you're still watching, if you stuck with me through that whole video, as always, I really appreciate you guys watching through till the end. If you liked this video, drop me a comment and let me know. It, gives me self-worth. No, I'm just kidding. It doesn't give me self-worth, but it does feel nice to know that you guys enjoy watching these videos. So if you enjoyed this one, let me know in the comment section below. One last time, like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, the whole thing. You guys know what to do. I really appreciate you guys. Yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Much love. Peace.